Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Plot podcast. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest, the wonderfully talented author Isabelle Broom. Isabelle has been captivating readers since her debut novel, My Map of You, in 2016, and she's now the author of 13 novels, with her latest, The French Guest House, which was just released this November. Her stories whisk us away to beautifully drawn settings from Greece to France and explore these themes of love, loss, and self-discovery with warmth and wit. Beyond her novels, Isabelle is also a freelance editor, a former book reviews editor at Heat magazine, and co-founder of Bramley and Broom, a writing initiative supporting aspiring authors. Today, we'll dive into her creative process, the inspiration behind The French Guest House, and what's next in her literary journey. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's get to know the brilliant author that is Isabelle Broom. And just remember, if you do really like listening to these podcasts and you're enjoying them, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with your friend. It really helps me grow and keep bringing you inspiring conversations like this one. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy. Hey, Isabelle, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you as well. I've been, I found you on Instagram like a while ago, and I just really like kind of who you are as an author and the content and following your story. So I want to jump at the chance to invite you on here. So I appreciate you joining and letting our audience hear your story.
Thank you. My friend said something the other day about my Instagram being like a good mix of like warmth and madness. And I was like, that kind of sums me up, to be honest.
I think it's a real glimpse into your life, which I don't know about anybody else, but I really like kind of, seeing kind of the professional, but like behind the scenes as well. I think you can kind of then resonate with people a little bit more.
Yeah, I try to keep it as real as possible.
Yeah.
But not too serious.
Yes.
There's so much there's so many awful things online whenever you log in.
I know.
And I always think I'm going to try and put something nice and uplifting out into the algorithm wherever possible.
I like that. So do you want to intro yourself just a little bit? Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm Isabelle Broom, also writes as Izzy Broom, or will be come next year. And I'm the author of 12, I think now, going to be 13 next year, escapist fiction books. So they're all standalone stories set in different locations around the world. I used to be a book reviews editor at Heat magazine as well. I still do a lot of freelancing for magazines. So that's kind of who I am.
Amazing. Yeah, I did see you've got a book being released in November, right? And another one being released kind of early next year as well.
Yes, publishing. The craziness.
I don't know how you keep up.
My schedule was always sort of traditionally summer releases, holiday reads, that kind of thing. But with the last book that I've got with my current publisher, Hodder, they wanted to aim for more of a bookshop audience. Because of the themes in the novel, were getting progressively kind of more, I wouldn't say darker, but certainly more serious and, leaning into that book club sort of mold. They were like, let's push it out of the summer because it's so competitive, and let's try for the autumn instead. So that's why The French Guest House is a little bit later this year. And then I ended up signing a new deal with a different publisher, and they were keen to publish in the spring, which is why it's squashed together. But I think it's a bonus. You get 2 books by me inside 6 months.
I bet you were like frantically like trying to finish your deadline. And you mentioned Heat. So I was reading a little bit about yourself. I jumped on obviously your website just to understand kind of where you'd come from, and I did see that you used to work for Heat magazine. So I definitely want to dive into that and obviously about your publishing journey. But I always like to start from the start and just hear from you, like, when did it all start in terms of your writing career? And then when did it officially start? You thought, actually, I want to become an author and do this more professionally. So what did it look like for you, as in when you first started writing?
Gosh. I mean, I was writing stories from when I was sort of 6, 7 years old. I had this big exercise book, this big blue book, which I've still got. I did put it on Instagram years ago now, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, she's always been crazy." But it was always, they always had happy endings. They were things like the magic eraser, and
Yeah.
so. And I used to write these little stories and show them to my mum. My mum had always read me stories when I was growing up. And so my stepdad actually read me The Hobbit when I was a little
Wow.
kid. It was like quite a bedtime story, but I think it sort of fed my imagination. I've always been one
Mm,
of those people that's like, you know, Stephen King-esque. I don't walk down a beach and go, "Oh, isn't the sea pretty?" I'm like, "Oh, what could that be? And who could that, that couple up ahead, how did they meet and how did they get together?" So I'm always looking beyond, I think. I think
yeah.
that's my personality. And I love people. I've always been interested in people and very sociable. So I think that also lends itself to writing. But
Yeah.
in terms of my career, I mean, I did what most people do. I wrote when I was a child, and there was no ego and there was no worrying about what anyone else thought. When you're a child,
Yeah.
that's a gift. And then of course hormones come along and you compare yourself to other people and you're too scared to put anything of yourself out into the world. Certainly I was. And so my writing, although I read a lot as a teenager, and always loved the idea of being a writer, I never had the confidence to do anything with it. I sort of kept a diary and that was about it, and did any creative writing I could through school. And then university, the same. I did a media degree, so there was quite a lot of creativity in that, and storytelling in that, but it was much more, there wasn't anything personal. I
Mm,
sort of did a few bits and bobs, but again, I wouldn't have shown them to anybody. I
yeah.
would never, I never took myself seriously at that stage. It was much later on down the line when I was working as a journalist at Heat, actually,
Yeah.
that I entered a short story competition just on a whim. Because by that point I was doing book reviews for the book reviews page,
Yeah.
and I was becoming enmeshed in the world of the industry from that side. So
Mm,
I'd met quite a lot of editors and people like that, and I was like, "This is such a lovely industry." I really maybe I should give it a go. Maybe I should, it was always in the back of my mind. And I saw this short story competition. It was on Twitter. And I'll never forget this. It was Millie Johnson. She
yeah.
was one of the judges and she'd retweeted it. And I followed her because I always read her books. And the deadline was that day. So it was sort
Wow.
of by midnight that day. And I walked home from the office that day. And I remember walking up Euston Road and I was just thinking, what can I write a story about in 2,000 words or 2,500 words, whatever it was. So I had the idea for the wedding speech, and I just went home, sat down, wrote it, read it through, didn't show it to anyone, just sent it
Yeah.
um, by the deadline. It took me about 3 hours to do it. And I thought, well, that's the end of that. And then the day of the sort of deadline, the announcement came, and suddenly all these people started following me on Twitter, like people that were associated with the competition. I was thinking, this must mean something, And then I get this email saying that I'd won.
Oh,
But what was
wow.
great about it was completely anonymous. So they didn't know who, you submitted
Yeah.
these things blind. So they didn't know that I was a journalist. They didn't know that I worked for Heat, um, which I think is good because
Yeah.
definitely that opens doors. But for me, it was much more, oh, that's an unexpected bonus rather than, we chose her
Yeah.
because of who she is. So that was nice. It was a nice endorsement of the writing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I love that. It was like that kind of sliding doors moment of like you saw it in that day. And if you didn't go into it, where would you be now? Like
Yeah,
you may have already found that path like eventually, but yeah, kind of
I was
started.
definitely at a crossroads at that point because I wanted, I wasn't 100% happy. I was kind of, my life had stagnated. I was always struggling a little bit for money. I didn't have a relationship at that time. And I was contemplating going to live in Greece, actually, in
Yeah.
Zakynthos. I'd applied for my dog to get a passport, and I'd looked at the route I would take, and I was thinking I could do this. And winning that competition, one of the first questions they asked me at Simon and Schuster, they ran the competition,
Yeah.
and they said, "Are you going to be around next spring and summer to do all the promo?" And I just said yes, and that was it. And I changed my mind, and I stayed.
Wow.
So if I
Gosh.
hadn't seen that competition, or if I hadn't won
Yeah.
it, or if I might have ended up married to a Greek waiter,
Yeah.
which might not have been that bad.
Flashing plate.
It would have been different, but
But did Uzo.
no, it didn't happen. Here I am.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a very good life.
Yeah.
So from there then, because you obviously said there was promotion, what did it look like once you won that competition?
So one of the best things about the competition was that part of the prize was that I got a sit-down session with a published author, an editor, and a literary agent. So I had lunch with Millie Johnson, and she gave
Wow.
me so much advice. I mean, if there are any, she is one of the biggest champions, not just in women's fiction and romance, but in the whole industry, for kind of propping people up and making you believe in yourself. And, why shouldn't it be you? Not why should it be you? She gave me so much advice, and really, I came sort of skipping away from that lunch thinking, I can do this, full of confidence. And I sat down with Claire Hay, who's, edited people like Libby Page and Anne Milley. She gave me loads and loads of good pointers about the novel idea that I had at the time.
Yeah.
And ditto Lizzie Kramer. Lizzie Kramer was the agent I sat down with. And of course, she is an absolute titan. So she gave me some really, really good advice and made me look at my idea in a much more commercial way and a much more, what is it about this that is going to make it different, and how are you going to stand out, and what's your USP, and lots of things like that I hadn't really thought about. I hadn't thought beyond the story. I think you do that with your first book. It's all about that story, but when you think about a career, you've got to think about long term. So that gave me a lot of food for thought. And then when the story came out, because I worked at Heat, they did a lovely review in it, and I think it was only sort of 22 pages Kindle ebook, but they made a big splash of it, and it was just really nice. Lots of people were telling me that they loved it, and then one of my friends from university, he took the idea and turned it into a film, which ended up winning prizes as well. So I actually,
your career just went like skyrocketed.
It was so bizarre. It was just bizarre, and I remember I flew to Kerry. And I couldn't get much time off work, so I went for 22 hours to Kerry in Ireland to watch the first showing of it in the cinema at this tiny film festival. There's about 7 people there. And I just sat there and I saw my name on the screen and I cried. And I was like, someone should be here with me, but it was just me. And then I just flew back to work.
That's a pinch me moment. So from then on, did you then, off the back of that, did you then get a traditional publishing contract, or what did the process then look like for you to then start writing?
Yeah, it wasn't immediate. It was Lizzie wasn't taking anybody on. We really got on, Lizzie Kramer and I, but she was obviously had a very full list, and my novel wasn't ready. So I went away and I continued to work on what became my Map of You. And I was still working for Heat at the time and doing stuff for the books page. And Giovanna Fletcher, who's Tom from McFly's wife, she had done work experience at Heat magazine, and she'd also written a novel. And she messaged me and she said, will you interview me at Waterstones? Because I'm, do a Q&A with me. And I was like, yeah, of course I will. So I went along, and her agent was there. Her literary agent, Hannah Ferguson, was there. And we ended up having a conversation after the event. And she said, well, are you working on anything? And I said, yeah. And she said, will you send me what you've got? So she read my opening few chapters and my synopsis. And then she said, I want to read the rest, send me the rest. So I had to furiously, within sort of 3 or 4 months, I was like, right, now somebody's actually wants it and is waiting for it. I'll bash it out, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I got up at 5 o'clock every morning before work, sat in the dark in my horrible little hovel room in Camden, and wrote my Map of You. And she signed me. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it really was. We did an edit together, and then it went out, and I was hugely fortunate to get a preempt from Penguin Michael Joseph within the kind of the first 24 hours.
It's meant to be.
Well, it actually happened the same week that I got dumped by my long-term boyfriend. So I was like crying about that, and then crying these tears of joy. It was a very emotional time.
It's always a silver lining.
It's always that's life, though, isn't it? That's what it is. Yeah.
And so it just has steamrolled from there, right? So just And have you stayed with the same publisher the whole time, apart from
I
Hodder?
did 6 with Penguin Michael Joseph,
Yeah.
and my acquiring editor, Kimberly, who's actually just become an agent, and it's very exciting. She left the business and went to live in Australia
Yep.
for a couple of years, working for Penguin over there. And then when she came back, she took on a role at Hodder, and
Mhm.
I always say this wrong, Stoughton. It's not Stoughton, it's Stoughton. A little stoat on it on the book.
Urgent.
Everyone says it wrong. Hodder and Stoughton. And she sort of poached me over to there. So I did 6 novels with them, the last of which would be The French Guest House.
Yeah,
And I've now
amazing.
moved back to Penguin. So I've gone back to
Wow.
my roots, but a different imprint.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and gosh, soon to be 13 books. That's
Yes.
a hell of an achievement.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've been really lucky in that I've never had to be on submission since I got that first deal.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of my friends have kind of, their contracts have ended and they've gone back on submission, and it's just the most hellish, awful
Yeah.
process. All the waiting and all the oh God, I'm
Yeah,
really
just
glad that
like
I've had to do it.
proving yourself again. It's probably, yeah, the
Yeah.
same in any kind of, job, right? If you have to keep interviewing for the
Yeah.
for the same role, yeah, it's gotta be kind of a tough gig when you gotta have
And I
more
think it's tougher
experience.
now than it was 10 years ago. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
It's just, there's lots of reasons why. And I think, the industry has become much more cautious, and less prone to taking risks. I think everybody
Yeah.
wants a surefire hit. There's less space for books to be sold now on shelves. And
Yeah.
Amazon is problematic for lots of reasons. So
Yes.
it has become, editors are overworked. They want things that are very polished, very commercial, ready to go, that they can
Yes.
pitch, that the sales teams can pitch easily. That's what they're
Yeah.
looking for.
Do you think they look for more trends nowadays than they did previously? And off the back of that, do you think that we're seeing authors that come on that maybe they'll get a publishing deal for like 1 or 2 books and then maybe they disappear again and we see someone else come in? What do you think? Do you think it's changed in that way as well?
Possibly. I think trends will always be, there'll always be trend chasers. There'll always
Mm.
be people in the industry that see a gap and say, well, we haven't got anything on our list that is doing this, this, and this. And they will go out and try to find it, or they'll ask somebody to write an IP for them in that space.
Mm.
You're seeing it with romantasy now, aren't you? And we saw it with a lot of those crime books that were like how to, do your neighbour in without getting
Yes.
caught, and all those kind of long title ones off the back of the Bellamaki success. So
Yeah.
I think there is still a space for that, but it makes sense. I mean, if you look at any industry, say like chocolates, for example, if you want to go up against Milk Tray,
Yeah.
you're not going to make something that looks 100 million miles different to Milk Tray. You're going to kind of try and pick up the Milk Tray
Yes.
customers
Yeah.
by packaging it similarly. I mean, I always say about the caterpillar cakes,
Oh, yes.
Cuthbert and the other one.
Colin. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think there's another one out there as
It's
well.
Colin's the OG, and
He
and
is, yeah.
Cuthbert's the Audi. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But it sells, so of course they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah. And it's about
But
the marketing as well, right? How they market it,
exactly,
which I find
yeah,
hilarious, the things that they come out with.
exactly. They don't pretend that they're not
No.
copying, which I think is genius in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not so
Um,
much publishing.
yeah. And so in terms of like, we just touched on marketing of a caterpillar
Mm.
cake, but in terms of
Yeah.
your marketing, um, what does that look like? And do you think that's changed? Because obviously social media has, oh God, I mean, I was looking at a post of my first ever, I think it was Facebook in like 2015 or something, like even before that. I was like, gosh, yeah. I can remember that I'm in the era of like when we grew up with nothing and then obviously came into technology.
Yeah.
So do you think that's had an impact, and how do you navigate that as well?
I think people, I mean, Richard Osman said the other day, didn't he, that you don't need social media. And I thought,
Yes.
you don't if you're Richard Osman.
Yeah.
Like, because people kind of know who you are, because guess what? They've seen you on a different screen. They've seen you on
Yes.
television.
Mm.
And also his books are everywhere. But it is, I found that comment sort of endearingly frustrating because I
Mm.
thought, oh, bless him, he's just in the bubble. He doesn't really get what it's like to be in the mid-list.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
when you can't afford to take yourself off on tour around 200 bookshops and talk
Yeah.
to people, which is obviously what we'd all be doing if we had the time and the money.
Yeah.
But social media, it's what people look at
Mm.
95% of the time. I mean, I try to not look at my phone and I'm still clocking, over 3 hours a day of
Yeah.
just phone time and screen time. So you've got to be in those people's phones. You
Yeah.
have to be if you want
Yeah.
them to know about your book. Because how else are people finding out about books if they're not going into bookshops
Yeah.
and they're not, sort of sitting on Amazon scrolling through all the suggestions? How are they ever going to know that that book exists?
Yeah. It's very
I
true.
always, when you're in the industry, you lose sight of that because we're so enmeshed and we follow a lot of authors and we follow people in the industry, so we know. But my friends that I talk to that read 1 or 2 books a year, I'm like, how do you find out about books? I'm always really interested. It's
Yeah.
usually a recommendation by someone else or something they've seen on their phone.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always one or two. So,
Yeah. That's very true, actually. I always think about my friend got me into some authors, and then other times ones that I've read for years since I was growing up that I still follow and read. My sister's a huge reader as well, so she always recommends stuff to me, and yeah, and then social media as well.
yeah,
So you're right. Like I don't where I live now. So I'm in Norfolk. You're in Suffolk, right?
yeah. We're not
Yeah.
too far from each other, are
I'm
we?
a I'm in a very small town in Norfolk,
Mm,
which we don't have access to many bookstores unless I go to the closest city. So for
yeah.
me, I do rely on, and I work from home as well. So for me, I do rely on like
Mm,
recommendations or seeing kind of who's got new releases coming out versus me physically. I love going into bookstores, but personally, I don't always
yeah.
have the time. So I do rely on social media and recommendations, which I think is key, right?
Definitely, definitely. I don't think there's a better endorsement than somebody saying, "I read this book and I loved it, and now I have bought it and I'm pressing it into your hands." I mean,
Yeah,
that's the ultimate for an author to hear.
yeah,
That I read your book and then I bought it for my mum and my sister and my friend. Like you're like,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I'm at the pinnacle.
yeah.
There's just no
I
better than that.
I know. I'm in that era now that everyone's going to be getting a book for Christmas,
Yeah,
whether they want one or not.
absolutely. Yeah,
Encourage the
absolutely.
reading, and I think it's really great, right? Because I've got children, and my son is in primary school, and he's a very good reader. Like his teacher has said that he is above where
Mm,
he needs to be, but
excellent.
he absolutely loves reading. And I just get this warm feeling because I love reading. And so when
Mm,
I hear him read and want to read these books, I'm like, yes, yes, you're just
uh,
like me. Keep doing that because we need more
exactly.
readers in the world.
I think a lot of children are like, children are curious. They're
Yeah,
not, you're not born with a screen in your hand.
yeah,
And it's only later, that really takes over your life, which is
yeah,
such a shame because as soon as you get stuck looking at your phone all the time, your concentration
yes,
gets pulled. You get that constant need for entertainment, dopamine hits
yeah,
constantly. And if a novel is a bit of a slow burn, you're just
yeah.
not going to put up with it because you
No,
haven't got patience to sit till page 50.
yeah,
And I think that's really sad that that skill's being lost. And like you say, nice that it's still being fostered in children.
yes, yeah,
Way. There
yeah,
are only hope.
yeah.
The adults are done for.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to, try and take him back to my childhood of where we didn't have all
Yeah,
these things and just go play outside and have your imagination and
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Um, so where do you get a lot of your inspiration? Because obviously a lot of your books are set abroad, right? And you mentioned that previously you were in that crossroads of potentially going living in Greece. So
Yeah.
does it just stem from a love of like these countries that you visited, or what does that look like for you?
I think when I started writing, I wrote the life that I wanted, and I wrote
Mhm.
about people living the life that I wanted to live. And I've kind of, I suppose, developed and matured as a writer, and I now write about things that I see people around me experiencing or that I've experienced. So I think I've got a bit braver as a writer as I've gone on, and become more introspective with it as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess my inspiration comes from everywhere. I mean, it could be a place, it could be a conversation. My friends inspire me, other writers inspire me. people you might just have a conversation with in a restaurant when you're on holiday
Mm.
inspire me.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in Sri Lanka, the guy that was serving me my dinner, he said that he'd lost his entire family in the tsunami, and he'd
Gosh.
kind of come back. He was up in the mountains at the time, or in the middle of the country, and he'd been unscathed, and he came back, and his house had gone, his family had gone, and he told me that he'd gone over to Dubai and worked as a lifeguard over there to save money, and then he's come back and he's kind of building everything up from the ground. A story
Wow.
like that can't help but inspire you, you know,
Yeah.
especially if we're like, oh, the bin didn't get taken
I
today,
know.
and that's the worst thing that's ever happened to us.
Yeah, we just
And
complain about
people
the
are just
weather. Yeah.
carry on. I find those sorts of stories really inspiring. The things that people can go through and achieve
Yeah,
through
it's
sheer
yeah.
force. Well,
I think, yeah, we're at times I feel, especially where I'm living right now, it's a bit of a bubble, and there's so many things that are happening in the world that we just cannot relate to. So it's nice to tell a
no,
story in that way, to share their story as well, right? Of resilience and like encouragement. So yeah, I think that's fantastic.
yeah.
Do you get many obstacles or challenges as a writer, as an author?
I actually wrote notes about what was what I find most challenging and the kind of the biggest myth about writing. The thing that annoys me most about the industry is, say for example, if you're an actor and you
Yeah.
start off and you get a small role on a movie
Hmm.
and you get a small amount of money for it, and everyone says, well, they're quite a good actor, maybe we'll give them slightly more to do in the next one and more to do, and then fast forward 10 years and they're Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
But in writing, it's like the first job you ever have will be the most money you ever have. And we're going to throw everything at it, and we're going to put you up on this pedestal and tell you that you're the
Yeah.
greatest thing ever. Um, Obviously, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
But how do you follow that? It's impossible. You can't always be at that point. And if you're not, um, if you've been writing books for 10 years, but you've never had the big splash,
Yeah.
you're not considered to be worthy of any extra stuff. There's no sort of like natural career progression. You could
Yeah.
just stay for 30 years.
Yeah.
It all comes down in the end to the objective opinion of a few people
Mhm.
in publishing. That's a
Yeah.
hell of a lot of power to have. And actually, I've had more spent on marketing on some of my earlier books, and I would
Yeah.
argue that my later books are much better books, and I'm a better writer, yet they're being treated and not the same. There's no kind of, there are no rules.
Why do
And
you
I
think that is then? Do you think it's they're trying to cut costs, or do you think it's yeah, why do you think that potentially could be happening to you or and more authors out there?
I think because if you if a publisher takes a chance on a book, and it gets into a supermarket, say Tesco, for example, and
Mhm.
it doesn't sell in the numbers that they were hoping, you will then have what's called bad track,
Yeah.
which we all dread,
Yeah.
where a retailer will look at the last numbers of your sales and go, well, we had to return 25% of the ones we took, so we're going to take 10,000 less copies this time.
Yeah.
Um, and then your name becomes problematic
Yeah.
within the industry through no fault of your own, because people don't buy a book in a supermarket based on the words inside that book. They buy
Yeah.
it based on the cover and maybe the
Yes.
endorsement and maybe what's going on in the world. Like it's something that authors have very little control over.
Yeah.
That you can't reject a book if you haven't read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, you're not rejecting the author's words, but then it's our names that get
Yeah.
sullied. And I think
Yeah.
that is a real frustration, I know, for a lot of authors, and why a lot of authors sort of reinvent themselves and come up with pseudonym after pseudonym to try and break that mold. Because a supermarket that's never sold you before, and a publisher's going to them and saying, well, lots of books that look like this book has sold really well, and we really believe in it. And the supermarket says, okay, I'll take 50,000 copies,
Yeah.
in a dream world, because they've got nothing telling them not to.
Yeah. So if they saw your name again, they realize, oh, those books don't sell, they're probably going to
Yeah,
push back a bit more. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, I get that.
yeah,
Yeah. That's really tough, isn't it? And I think that's
yeah.
then how social media can play a huge part, right? Of keeping your name out there and
Mm.
getting it to maybe readers who haven't read your books before and just picking each other up and encouraging. I know, like, even just looking on Instagram, you can see that everyone shares a lot, right? They're always propping other authors up, which I think is fantastic. Because if people are going through a challenging time, you still want that encouragement. You still need courage to keep putting yourself out there and showcasing that, I am a great author.
And it
I want to
gives
keep
you
writing and sharing my stories.
a bit of control back as well about how to present and sell your story. And this is why I always say that events are such a good idea. They can be hard to come by, but there's nothing better than sitting, on a panel of other authors with a room of engaged people listening and being able to kind of pitch your story in the way that you want to. It's the only real chance you get. Social media as well is important because you get to talk about the book in your terms. And obviously the way that marketing campaign talks about it, or, how a sales team talk about it when they go out and sell it, is going to be very different to that. It's going to be, they get about 30 seconds to pitch your book to a Tesco buyer or a Sainsbury's buyer or an Asda buyer. It's 30 seconds per book.
Gosh.
It's not long. That's why we're always saying the hook is so important. It really is.
Yeah.
Because you've got to stand out from that list.
Yeah,
That's your chance. You've got 30 seconds. So every author should be able to sell their book in 30 seconds.
Elevator pitch.
Don't ask me to do it. I'm terrible at it. I'm like, it's kind of, it's about this woman. Lost me. You're gone.
Just hire someone to do it instead. And so you said, obviously, you're writing under Isabelle Broom at the moment, but your book that comes out next year is going to be Izzy Broom, right?
Yes. They've changed the first name slightly to indicate to my existing readers that it's a slightly different book. I think that's the thinking behind it. So, because there's a historical element for the first time in The House of Hidden Letters, which is the book that comes out in March, that's a little bit different to what I've been doing up to this point. So they just wanted to show that.
Yeah, that's nice. But people still recognise who you are, right? Because it's not too far
I think so.
From your name.
I think a lot of people call me Izzy that know me as well. So, but most people call me Broom, so it works both things. Broom. Yeah.
Well, I think 13 is a huge achievement, so you should be very, very proud of yourself for that. And
I do look at them sometimes and think, how? I forget the characters' names. People are like, oh, I love so and so in that book, and I'm like, I sit there going like, remember? I can't remember. It's too many people in my head.
You should go around. Have you done that before, where you go into like the bookstores and just randomly sign some books or ask for your book to see if they recommend it?
I did it once. And I chose the wrong place.
Oh, no.
I'm going to name shame them. So I went into Waterstones in Islington. And it was about a week after my debut novel had come out. And I was too sort of scared to say, I am an author and do you have my book? So I just asked for it. And the guy at the till was like, what's the name? And he was like, Broom. And he went, you mean like a witch's broom? And I was like, oh, yes. And then he kind of went, no, I'm afraid we don't stock that type of book. It's just like dagger to the heart. I mean, Waterstones are lovely now. My local especially is so supportive, and quite a few other Waterstones as well.
Yeah.
So it's not all of them. It's just Snooty Islington.
Well, that's when you should like sneakily take your books out and just start putting them on the shelves. And people going up, oh, I want to buy this book.
Order one into store and then
and
then just put it on a shelf.
Now you can go, don't you know, I've written like 13 books, so you should be having it in the Islington store. You probably are in the Islington store now.
I don't know. I've never been back. No.
So where does your kind of career take you now? Because I saw the other day that you posted about Curtis Brown. So do you want to share a bit about this so the audience can hear kind of what you're up to next?
There's a writing sort of school, I guess you'd call it, called Curtis Brown Creative, which sits adjacent to the literary agency. They do kind of writing courses, submission reports, manuscript reports. mentoring schemes, all sorts of stuff, workshops, classes, you name it. It's really, really fantastic. And there's lots of authors on their editors list, including me. There's people like Holly Seddon you can work with. So some really, really big names in the industry across all kind of genres and strengths and things. So I had a conversation with my agent about it because I do it for my friends already. I kind of, I'll help them with knotty problems, or I'll kind of be on the end of the phone when they're having a bit of a crisis moment, help them shape their pitches and hooks, and just doing like long plot chats, long voice notes and things like that. So I was kind of already doing it. And my agent said, well, why don't you just get paid for it? And I was like, yeah, okay, I could try. So I have signed up as an editor and a mentor.
Amazing.
Hire me to be your cheerleader and your red pen person.
Yeah, that's
And so
amazing. I was going
I
to say,
was
did
a
the
sub-editor
opportunity
for
come to
years.
you? Sorry.
Sorry? You have to book me through the Curtis Brown website. Yeah, you can't come to me direct.
No. But did the opportunity come to you? Did they reach out to you?
Yes. My agent set it up. She's because she's a Curtis Brown agent. She's a bit of a firecracker. So
she's
like, just
you in
do this.
every avenue of like getting your name out there.
Yeah. She just tells me what to do and I do it. That's how our relationship works.
Not yes, okay. What do we sign me up to do this time?
Okay.
Well, that's an amazing opportunity, and just to give you, I think it's really nice because it just shows that there's different elements to being an author, right? And that you've obviously come from that background of editing as well, so that's obviously one of the reasons why you've been asked to do it. But I think it's like giving back as well to those aspiring authors.
And I know how much of a difference it made to me at the beginning to have a sort of network of people around me that were saying, you can do this, you can write, you're a good writer, you belong, you're worthy of belonging in this world and this industry. And it makes all the difference. And I've got so many good writer friends, a lot of my sort of best friends now are authors. And I love spending time with them all. And it is, like you said earlier, the most kind of welcoming and championing industry. It's amazing. There's always somebody that will pick you up or give you advice or offer to read something for you, or, there are hundreds of them literally. So it's not the kind of thing where you have to have imposter syndrome, because it's just not. I don't think it's like that. I haven't experienced any of that.
Yeah, that's
I know people say that it can be a bit cliquey sometimes, but I don't know. I think sometimes what looks like cliquiness at an event is just people that haven't seen each other for 4 months, really excitedly catching up with each other in like a circle of joy.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when you hang around in a certain circle, like you might be going to the same events and seeing the same people, and then you grow your network that way, right? And you're all doing the same.
I mean, I'm one of the kind of people that would just muscle up to people that I want to be friends with and talk to them. It's like my heat training coming into play. I used to have to do a celebrity party, so now I do it at Harrogate. Hi, I listen to your podcast. I want to be your friend. You don't have a choice.
I really like it, and I think you never know now where your career will go, right? If you've got this aspect to it now, and where, like, have you got a bit of a plan of like what you want to be doing in like 10, 15 years time?
Just earning enough money to survive would be nice. That would be a good start. The financial insecurity of the industry is one of the things that I don't like about it. That and how slowly it moves. It's the most glacially moving. Magazines moves fast, and that's the kind of world that people make decisions quickly because you've only got a few days or a few hours sometimes, or a few minutes to go to press. But publishing, oh my God, just takes a long time. You can be waiting for contracts and for tax forms and, for 9 months, 12 months.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just slow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm impatient for things to move forwards, to be done, let's move on to the next.
Yeah. I get that. And I always feel like it's quite refreshing to hear you say this. And I have heard a lot of authors say this now, that like the money aspect too, right? A lot of people go into it thinking they're going to be rich and they're going to make all this money. And
Some people
maybe
do.
maybe the Colleen Hoovers of the world who now have all their
Yeah.
books adapted into movies, but and now immersed into the celebrity world. But it's quite refreshing for you to say that you've got to have a dream and a passion that you really want to do this, because otherwise, if you're just doing it for the money, you're probably going to, you know, get a bit of a kind of a.
I always say the lottery test. So if you won the lottery tomorrow, would you still write books? And I always think yes, because
Yeah,
I would still want to do that, and I still would
yeah,
love it, and I wouldn't
yeah.
be doing it for the money, and I could have really good marketing campaigns.
Yes,
I'd be
you
in Times
can go
Square.
to those book tours. You can go to
Yeah.
20 different
Still
stores.
no guarantee that it would sell. No, no, I think I still would.
Yeah,
And you have to be passionate about it, because in the end, the majority of it is just sitting in a room alone by yourself with
yeah,
people talking at you in your head, and it's a weird job. Um,
yeah.
so if you
Solitary.
can't kind of make peace with that, and I think the goalposts move all the time. So I remember my first editor saying to me, like, everybody has like a magic number that they want to hit in terms of sales. And what's your magic number? And I didn't know anything then about, sort of forecasts or numbers or anything. And I
Mm,
was like, if I could sell 5,000 paperbacks, that would make me the happiest person in the world. And of course, that's pretty bad for like, or it's pretty, below average. But I just didn't know. I just thought 5,000 people, that just blew my mind.
yeah,
And now, of course, I'm like, well, I want to be, I want to be a New York Times bestseller, and I want to be a Sunday
yeah,
Times bestseller. And, I want to sell 100,000 copies off the bat of every book I ever write,
yeah,
so it changes all the time.
yeah.
But I
Have you
think the main
got?
thing is just to keep being able to enjoy the job.
Yeah,
Because if it gets to the point where you're not enjoying it, then something's got to give,
yeah,
I think.
yeah. I think that's very true, very true. Because yeah, if you stop enjoying it, you can really tell. And I actually saw someone the other day said they're giving it a break because they are lacking kind of inspiration and they're not enjoying it at the
Mm,
moment. So rather than keep putting work out there that isn't quite right and kind of going to affect potentially their brand, they're just taking a step back. And I think that's
mm,
acceptable to do. I think um, otherwise you just put too much pressure on yourself and you can go down a little
yeah. And there's
downward
so
spiral.
much in traditional publishing, there's so much you can't really control.
Mm,
I think you have to let go of that idea that you can control things, and the only thing that we can control as writers is the stories that we write and how well we write them.
yeah,
Our job is to be good writers and to write good stories. That's our job. And we then give the product of that work to a third party
yeah,
that we're contracted with, and they will try to sell it. And that's it. That's what we're doing.
yeah,
So I think for me, a few years ago, I had a bit of an epiphany because I was just miserable all the time because
mhm,
I didn't think I was getting, the attention from my publisher that I wanted. I didn't think I was selling in the numbers that I wanted. And I was just felt sad about it all the time. And I thought, actually, the only thing I can do here is let the publishing be publishing. That's going to do what it's going to do. And I'm going to write good books, better books, better books, better books. Because at least then, there's more of a chance that they're going to do something with them
yeah,
if they're
yeah.
good.
That's a really smart thing to do. You focus on what you can control, right? And
Yeah,
that's something that you
absolutely.
can control, and then hopefully good things will follow.
Yeah. And nobody can be there in the room with you in your head writing that story. Only you can do that. Um, and it's, when you're in the editing process and it feels very collaborative and exciting, there's a big team and you have meetings and you talk about publicity, that's all really exciting too. But by that point, the book is done, and
Mm,
your job in that, you're there as a courtesy really at that point. They're
yeah,
going to do it anyway,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
So what
or
would
or
you
not.
what would you say to aspiring authors who maybe are independently published at the moment? Maybe they haven't even gone down that route; they're just writing for themselves. What kind of words would you share with them to inspire them to keep going?
Um, well, I suppose it depends what stage they're at. If your dream is to be traditionally published, um, and it looks different to independent publishing.
Yeah.
Obviously, independently, you've got a lot more control, but you're never going to walk into a Waterstones and see your book on a shelf. And,
Yeah.
you're not going to get the library element, which is so vital. And
Yeah.
actually, people that take books out of a library, I don't know if they realize, but authors get paid every time.
Oh,
And
do they?
yeah, you get paid a certain amount per lend each book. So every sort of end of January, beginning of February, every author will get a certain amount of money from
Amazing.
the public lending fund. Yeah. Yeah. Which is, and there's things like that you wouldn't get in if you chose to publish
True.
independently. But against that, you're probably earning enough money to
Yeah.
live quite comfortably. And if
Yeah.
it is just about the writing, and you quite like the idea of doing all the marketing and kind of working out Amazon ads and things, then that might be for you if you're more of an entrepreneur. But I'm not
Yeah.
that person. I would never be able to do it all. And I love the world of publishing, for all its problems and weirdness. I do love it.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, learn how to sell your book in 30 seconds. Ask yourself, I always ask myself, what is this story about and why am I the only person that can tell it? What is it about me that is going to make this book my book, a special book that's special to me, and that I'm going to be able to share something about myself with readers? Because I think if there's an authenticity to your story and it means something and it's coming from a place of truth or experience or
Yeah.
emotion, then that's going to come across. And I think people read stories to connect. I certainly write
100%.
stories to connect. And I think the best way to do that is to put as much of yourself as you can out into the world. And it
Mm.
can be really, really scary. But the kind of the deeper you go and the more you dig, the more rewarding it's going to be as a reading
Yeah.
experience.
Be
And I
more
think a
vulnerable.
writing experience too.
Yeah.
So
Love that advice. Great
yeah,
advice. Great advice.
ignore the publishing, focus on the writing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's like if that's what you love, just focus on again what you can control and good things. I mean, look how your career accelerated, right? Because you had a passion for it. You had that
Yeah,
sliding doors moment or cross pathways, and look at you
yeah.
now. So
And it's not an easy job. You have to put in a lot of hours, and
yeah,
you sometimes have to build extra hours onto your day that don't exist. If you're somebody
yeah,
that's getting up 10 minutes before you have to leave for work
yeah.
and then watching 4 hours of Netflix in the evening, you're probably not going to write a novel
No,
inside
no,
inside a year.
yeah,
You've got something's got to give.
yeah.
But I think if you're passionate about it, you will find that time.
100%. Yeah. My friends always say that to me, how do you find the time? And I
Mm.
always say, because I love it. Like, because,
Yeah,
and even with this podcast, they're like, where do you find the time? And I was like, but I really enjoy it. Like, I love
yeah,
talking to people. And so for me, I don't see it as, oh, I've got to go and do this or I've got to go and edit. Or I'm like, I really enjoy it. So it's just part of my
yeah.
life. Yeah.
That's the magic of it.
Is the magic of it. Yeah, exactly. Um, Okay, so just a couple more questions because I always like to ask these questions. So
Yep.
obviously you had one of your books already adapted into a movie, but if you could pick another book, what would you have?
I think I'd go My Map of You just because it's the first one and it did
Yep.
change my life. And also I know exactly who I want for the
Oh,
people
who would you have?
lead role. So when I was writing it, I always had Aidan Turner in my head.
Yes.
He's kind of my love interest in the book, and he's an Irish vet, and
Yeah.
he was just Aidan Turner in my head. So Aidan Turner, and then if I couldn't get him, I'd have Callum Turner. Just one of
Oh,
the two,
yeah.
either one, two.
Not fussy.
Tall, dark, and handsome. I'll take. Um,
Yeah.
and I think for Holly, I think I'd like Kelly Riley, from Yellowstone. She plays Dutton
Yes.
in Yellowstone. She is sassy.
Yeah.
Holly was always a bit of a prickly character, but she was strong when she needed to be. And I think Kelly Riley is just one of those people you can't take your eyes off when she's on screen. So
Very
I
true.
think they would have a great dynamic.
Yeah.
Uh,
We'll keep manifesting that
well,
because,
dream big,
yeah,
dream big. This
gotta
is it.
dream big. Yeah. I keep seeing everywhere though. I literally keep seeing people like share on Instagram or other social media to say, "Oh, I had a phone call about my book being turned into a TV show or a movie. I think it more and more, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's like, how you see a red car and then that's all you ever see every time you go out.
Yeah.
It's, oh, it's another red
Yeah.
car. Maybe because I'm tuning into it a bit more, I'm hearing it a bit more. But yeah, I've personally noticed myself that we are seeing more books be adapted into TV shows and movies.
Yeah, there's so many more platforms and things now, and
Yeah.
production companies that are making things and selling them to the streamers that are
Yeah.
kind of taking the whole project on and quickly turning it around so that they've got
Yeah.
something to sell. And I think, yeah, that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
And also romance, I think, is having a bit more of a moment than it was a few years ago. There
Yeah.
seems to be a lot more of those types of shows now that are
Yeah.
breaking through. Um, Things like Nobody Wants This, is
Yeah.
a great example of a really and all. Is it called All of Us? The one with Brett Goldstein and Apple
Yes.
TV with Imogen Poots. Oh, flawless,
Yeah.
amazing, brilliant,
Yeah.
just everything that I want in a movie.
I know, it's great, isn't it? Because I do, yeah, I mean, I've always been into romance, so give me a movie, a TV show, or a book, and I'm there. But I actually
Mm.
got my partner, he doesn't normally watch stuff like that, and I actually got him to watch something, and he was like, I don't mind this stuff. And I was like, really? I was like, I thought you'd kind of, say, no, I'm
Yeah,
not watching this. But yeah, he was like more romantic comedy because it's got a bit of, funniness to it, and I can
yeah.
still be a bit macho, but you know, quite.
Not too soppy. Not P.S. I Love You,
Yeah.
although I love that film. I watch that every time I want a big cry.
Oh, do
It
love
just
that.
destroys me every time.
Gerard Butler, he's up there on my list. So,
Yeah, yeah, and the other guy, the other one she hooks up
oh
with, what's it?
yes, I don't know that
Every
actor's
time I
name.
look at it, oh, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, isn't it? I just
Oh,
always
that's
think
it.
Ethan.
Yeah,
That's not him. Scary man,
yeah.
scarily attractive man.
Oh, so where can people find you, Isabel?
I would say of all my, I mean, I'm on X, but I'm never on X, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I've still got an account, but I don't really post on there for obvious reasons because it's a cesspit. Um, I'm on Threads as well, but I haven't got into using it regularly. I will improve,
I I
but
I, I haven't
probably
even jumped on Threads.
no. Well, it's sort of connected to Instagram, but I
Yeah.
don't really sit on it. I'm trying to sit on my phone less. But I'd say Instagram is probably my most popular, the one that I use most often. And I'm just Isabelle_Broom, so I'm very easy to find. And
Yes.
then I've got a website as well, isabellebroom.com, again, very easy. And I do newsletter. On the website, you can see sort of galleries of each book, the setting, and read excerpts and chapters. And you can watch the wedding speech on there. There's a link to watch the movie of that. So lots and lots of stuff on there to keep you occupied.
I was very impressed by your website actually, and I was navigating through it, and I was like, oh, I can do this, and I can read this, and yeah, it
it's
was
it's an
insightful.
ever evolving beast.
But it's good because I went on it and I felt like I knew even more, and then I was like, it was really easy to navigate actually, and I was like, oh, okay, so I hovered over that book, and then it gave me insight about that book, and yeah, so I those of you who are listening, jump on Isabel's website because
Oh, thanks.
you'll learn something new.
It's very colourful.
It is. Very visually
Yeah.
appealing to the eye.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, I've absolutely loved chatting to you. I honestly have. I was so, even when I was researching a bit about you, I just thought, oh, I can't wait to talk to you because you've just got a really amazing kind of career path, and I love how it
Yeah.
started and how it's evolved. And I definitely know we're going to hear more from you, and I'm excited for your new books to be released in November, and March is is the
Yeah, the French Guest House is 6th of November.
yeah,
And then the House of Hidden Letters comes out in ebook and audio on the 12th of February.
yeah.
And the paperback will follow on the 26th. It's also coming out in America, which is so exciting. That's a real bucket list tick for me. So it's coming out with Penguin Berkeley on the 17th of March.
Are you going to do
In
tour?
hardback. I don't know if I'm going to tour, but I am going to fly to New York to see it in Barnes and Noble. Yeah. I
Oh,
think don't you?
You have to. Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
first time. I'm going to order a copy into Barnes & Noble just to make sure that it's in there.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is me. This is me.
Yeah, yeah.
Add outside. Yeah.
Yeah. You can be a bit more shameless in America because they applaud that kind of behaviour.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not like Waterstones, Islington. They're
No.
not going to be snooty at you.
Broom, like the broom,
Yeah.
British broom.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you doing any tours for your UK releases?
Oh, I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope so. I do as many as I can. I'm doing a little launch event up in Pickering in Yorkshire for the
Lovely.
French Guest House,
Yeah.
actually on publication day. So that'll be a little bit of a party.
Yeah.
But in terms of next year, nothing is firmed up yet. It's a bit early for getting dates in the diary,
Yeah.
but certainly, yeah. They'll all be on my website or on my
Yes.
Instagram as and when
Share away. I
they
can't
pop
wait to
up.
follow you. And I'm very jealous when I see photos of you in New York. I went there when I was 21, very long time ago now. And I wanted to go back for a while, but
I set a book in the Hamptons, so that gave me a good excuse to go back a few years ago. And then I went again with my friend Cheska Major because she had a book coming out the following summer, I think.
Yeah.
We went in January, and it was so nice going in January because we had a week where it was just blue sky, bright sunshine. It was cold, but there was no one on the streets. You could just walk around. You could get into everything touristy really easily.
Yeah.
They would recommend, and it's
Going
cheap.
in Jan.
Yeah.
That's a good time. Yeah, after the Christmas period, everyone's like, okay, I don't want to do anything now because we've had all the holidays. I do like it when it's winter. I don't mind the cold when it's sunny outside and you can go for a walk and enjoy the weather that way. But
New York's a city.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I've absolutely loved it.
Thank you for having me. It's been really good to chat. It's nice to do a podcast that's, not just your sort of standard format of. It's nice to delve a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do it for, right? So the audience could get to know, the authors, and like I'm happy for them to talk about their books, but I personally love getting to know someone. I'm quite nosy, like, what do they do and how do they get there? And so I know
that's why you're a reader
people.
And a writer.
Yeah.
Writers are inherently nosy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I will listen into your conversation. I make no apology.
In the coffee shop. What are they arguing about?
Anywhere.
All right, Isabelle. Well, I'm going to start calling you Izzy now. I was like, Isabelle, Izzy. Okay. But I'll chat to you very soon. Or Broom.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.